Hello, welcome to another edition of Dialogue on CCTV International. I'm your host, Tian Wei. Since September 11th, there has been a lot of debate going on in the West about whether there has been a clash of civilization and a clash of religions. Meanwhile, in the West, for example, in the United States, politicians are taking advantage of religion in their political campaign. So how to take a look at the role of religion in the West, especially in the US, and how to understand the relations of culture and religion in the US. I'm joined in the studio, interestingly today, by one of the most renowned atheists in America, Professor Dennett. He's a professor from Tufts University, and he's also the author of the well-known book, Breaking the Spell. But before we go to a discussion with him, let's take a look at this report.
Religion is available to almost 80% of the world's population. In the United States, a nation greatly impacted by religion, considerable research demonstrates the benefits of religious practices within the American society. However, recently, and particularly since September the 11th, the new atheism in the US is getting more and more in the limelight. A group of non-believing philosophers and intellectuals started questioning the rationality of various beliefs by analyzing the two-way effect that religion has brought to civil societies. Some of their books made the New York Times bestseller list for months on end. Professor of philosophy Dennett is currently a teacher at Tufts University. In his new book, Breaking the Spell, he argues that religious devotion is a function of biology, which in his eyes can be seen as a natural human phenomenon. He says the goal of either proving or disproving the existence of God is not important. In order to explain the hold that various religious ideas and practices have on people, we need to understand the evolution of the human mind.
Professor, welcome to Dialogue. Well, according to the latest poll from the Newsweek, it suggests 90 to as opposed to 6 Americans who believe in God. Of course, one poll might not show the whole picture, but when they asked how many Americans would like to have a president who do not believe in God, only 37% said yes. That was a lot lower than just 10 years ago.
Lower? Is that really lower?
Yes, 44% said yes.
10 years ago?
10 years ago.
Ah, that's
so
interesting. I hadn't
it is an interesting survey.
Yes.
Of course, once again, a survey does not represent everything, but where do you think America is going when it comes to religious belief and its relations with politics?
Well, actually, I think that the tide has turned. I think that the trend that you just described of America becoming more religious, or apparently more religious, has now met with so much resistance, and it's beginning to catch on. And I think the tide is turning right now. There's many good signs that we're going to move back towards the secular nation that we've really always been.
What do you mean by good signs?
Well, first of all, the first congressman ever to publicly announce that he's an atheist has done so and has been greeted with applause, not with jeers, not with catcalls or boos. And the wonderful reception of the book that I wrote and 3 or 4 others that have come out just in the last couple of years, which have really attracted a lot of attention.
We should really mention these books. Your book is Breaking the Spell. Of course, your colleagues, Richard Dawkins, his book, The God's Delusion. Sam Harris, his book is Letter to a Christian Nation, and many others.
Yes.
What are you trying to do? Are you cooperating with one another? Because people notice your book came out almost at the same time.
Well, we weren't cooperating beforehand. We are cooperating now. That is to say, we knew each other a bit, but it's only after the books have come out that we've got together. In fact, we had our first meeting just about 2 weeks ago in Washington, D.C. And we've all been very pleased with the reactions to our various books, and have been thinking that together we can have a bigger impact than we can by ourselves. So I think we'll be cooperating a lot in the future and encouraging others to cooperate with us.
All right. It has been suggested by a survey by the University of Minnesota that most Americans, the public, considered atheists as a threat to their belief and to their ordinary way of American life. And yet, at the same time, as you mentioned, Professor Dennett, your book and your colleagues have been on the New York Times bestseller list for weeks after weeks. And also, you can find your book almost in every airport bookstore in the United States. How should we see this apparently contradiction with one another?
Well, first of all, I wish you were true about what you said was true about my book. I think the other books are indeed big bestsellers. Mine's done very well, but not quite as well. And I think
thank you for clearing it up.
And I think the main reason for that is that my book is not as vigorous, not as outspoken as theirs. Mine is much more diplomatic. I go out of my way to speak to religious people, not just Christians, and I try not to give them an excuse to throw the book against the wall. But it turns out that if you want to sell books, it's better to be a bit more brash, not quite as polite. And I think that one of the things this shows is that there's actually a real craving, a real appetite for voices speaking out vigorously, clearly, calmly against the encroachment of religion in American political life.
Why do you think there's such a need among the public, though?
Well,
first of all, we need to clear it up that there has been a lot of opposition voices against your book and against the books of your colleagues, against atheism as a whole in America for a long time.
And in fact, one of the most fascinating aspects of that is that a lot of the sternest critics, the most vitriolic and hysterical critics of our books are not themselves religious. In fact, they are very paternalistic and they say, oh, I'm not religious myself, I don't need religion, but you mustn't upset the apple cart, you mustn't criticize religion in this way. That's very bad. So the self-styled protectors of religion who are not themselves religious, they're one of the main problems. But I think we're...
Why do you think that is true?
I think it's true because religions are very well designed to enlist that protective spirit in people, even people in other religions. If we were talking about the oil industry or the pharmaceutical industry or the music world in the same tones, everybody would say, that's fine, that's perfectly good criticism. But religion has occupied this special place where it was supposed to be above criticism. In fact, that's the spell that my book is about. When I talk about breaking the spell, that's the spell I want to break.
Right.
The idea that religion should be somehow out of bounds for criticism and analysis. And I think that spell is now broken.
But then many people would ask this question, though it is impolite to a certain extent, that who do you think you are to tell people that what they should do or should not do? And what you are doing right now, asking people not to believe in religion, just like those who are asking people to believe in religion.
Actually, I'm not asking them that. I am asking them to cooperate with the scientific study of religion, because religion is a very important phenomenon. Global warming is important. Water supply is important. Poverty, injustice, these are important worldwide phenomena. Religion is involved in all of them.
But then,
and so we should study religion with the same intensity as we study these other phenomena.
You suggest the scientific way of looking at religion, yet to many others, the two words, science and religion, just do not go together.
Well, they're
How
just
would
wrong.
you explain yourself?
Well, of course science can study religion, just science can study anything.
How would you do that?
There are many ways of studying them. One thing we want to know is, how did religions take the forms that they have now? They've changed a lot. The Christianity of today is hugely different from the Christianity of 1,000 years ago. In fact, it's hugely different from the Christianity of 100 years ago. Religions evolve. They change over time. We can study the history of that change, and we can even look at the prehistory of that, because we know that there was a time not long ago, by biological standards, when there was no religion at all.